Bible in a Year, the Message Version, January 19 or Day 19, Genesis chapter 39, verse 1 through chapter 41, verse 16. After Joseph had been taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelites, Potiphar, an Egyptian, one of Pharaoh's officials, and the manager of his household, bought him from them. As it turned out, God was with Joseph, and things went very well with him. He ended up living in the home of his Egyptian master. His master recognized that God was with him, saw that God was working for him in everything he did. He became very fond of Joseph and made him his personal aide. He put him in charge of all of his personal affairs, turning everything over to him. From that moment on, God blessed the home of the Egyptian, all because of Joseph. The blessing of God spread over everything he owned, at home and in the fields, and all Potiphar had to concern himself with was eating 3 meals a day. Joseph was a strikingly handsome man. As time went on, his master's wife became infatuated with Joseph, and one day said, "Sleep with me." He wouldn't do it. He said to his master's wife, "Look, with me here, my master doesn't give a second thought to anything that goes on here. He's put me in charge of everything he owns. He treats me as an equal. The only thing he hasn't turned over to me is you. You're his wife, after all. How could I violate his trust and sin against God?" She pestered him day after day after day, but he stood his ground. He refused to go to bed with her. On one of these days he came to the house to do his work, and none of the household servants happened to be there. She grabbed him by his cloak, saying, "Sleep with me." He left his coat in her hand and ran out of the house. When she realized that he had left his coat in her hand and run outside, she called to her house servants, "Look, this Hebrew shows up, and before you know it, he's trying to seduce us. He tried to make love to me, but I yelled as loud as I could. With all my yelling and screaming, he left his coat behind and ran out." She kept his coat right there until his master came home. She told him the same story. She said, "The Hebrew slave, the one you brought to us, came after me and tried to use me as his plaything. When I yelled and screamed, he left his coat with me and ran outside." When his master heard his wife's story, telling him, "These are the things your slave did to me," he was furious. Joseph's master took him and threw him into the jail where the king's prisoners were locked up. But there in jail, God was still with Joseph. He reached out in kindness to him. He put him on good terms with the head jailer. The head jailer put Joseph in charge of all the prisoners. He ended up managing the whole operation. The head jailer gave Joseph free rein, never even checked on him, because God was with him. Whatever he did, God made sure it worked out for the best. As time went on, it happened that the cupbearer and the baker of the king of Egypt crossed their master, the king of Egypt. Pharaoh was furious with his 2 officials, the head cupbearer and the head baker, and put them in custody under the captain of the guard. It was the same jail where Joseph was held. The captain of the guard assigned Joseph to see to their needs. After they had been in custody for a while, the king's cupbearer and the baker, while being held in the jail, both had a dream on the same night, each dream having its own meaning. When Joseph arrived in the morning, he noticed that they were feeling low, so he asked them, the 2 of the officials of Pharaoh who had been thrown into jail with him, "What's wrong? Why the long faces?" They said, "We dreamed dreams, and there is no one to interpret them." Joseph said, "Don't interpretations come from God? Tell me the dreams." First, the head cupbearer told his dream to Joseph. "In my dream, there was a vine in front of me with 3 branches on it. It budded, blossomed, and the clusters ripened into grapes. I was holding Pharaoh's cup. I took the grapes, squeezed them into Pharaoh's cup, and he gave the cup to Pharaoh. Joseph said, "Here's the meaning. The 3 branches are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will get you out of here and put you back to your old work. You'll be giving Pharaoh his cup, just as you used to do when you were his cupbearer. Only remember me when things are going well with you again. Tell Pharaoh about me and get me out of this place. I was kidnapped from the land of the Hebrews, and since I've been here, I've done nothing to deserve being put in this hole." When the head baker saw how well Joseph's interpretation turned out, he spoke up. "My dream went like this. I saw 3 wicker baskets on my head. The top basket had assorted pastries from the bakery, and birds were picking at them from the basket on my head." Joseph said, "This is the interpretation. The 3 baskets are 3 days. Within 3 days, Pharaoh will take off your head, impale you on a post, and the birds will pick your bones clean." And sure enough, on the 3rd day it was Pharaoh's birthday, and he threw a feast for all his servants. He set the head cupbearer and the head baker in places of honor in the presence of all the guests. Then he restored the head cupbearer to his cupbearing post. He handed Pharaoh his cup just as before, and then he impaled the head baker on a post, following Joseph's interpretation exactly. But the head cupbearer never gave Joseph another thought. He forgot all about him. 2 years passed, and Pharaoh had a dream. He was standing by the Nile River. 7 cows came up out of the Nile, all shimmering with health, and grazed on the marsh grass. Then 7 other cows, all skin and bones, came up out of the river after them and stood by them on the Nile bank. The skinny cows ate the 7 healthy cows. Then Pharaoh woke up. He went back to sleep and dreamed a second dream. 7 ears of grain, full-bodied and lush, grew out of a single stalk. Then 7 more ears grew up, but these were thin and dried out by the east wind. The thin ears swallowed up the full, healthy ears. Then Pharaoh woke up. Another dream. When morning came, he was upset. He sent for all the magicians and sages of Egypt. Pharaoh told them his dream, but they couldn't interpret them. The head cupbearer then spoke up and said to Pharaoh, "I just now remembered something. I'm sorry. I should have told you this long ago. Once, when Pharaoh got angry with his servants and locked me and the head baker in the house of the guards with the captain, we both had dreams on the same night, each dream with its own meaning. It so happened there was a young Hebrew slave there with us. He belonged to the captain of the guard. We told him our dreams, and he interpreted them for us, each dream separately. Things turned out just as he interpreted. I was returned to my position, and the head baker was impaled. Pharaoh at once sent for Joseph. They brought him from the jail cell. They cut his hair, put clean clothes on him, and brought him to Pharaoh. "I dreamed a dream," Pharaoh told Joseph. "Nobody can interpret it, but I've heard that just by hearing a dream, you can interpret it." Joseph replied, "Not I, but God. God will set Pharaoh's mind at ease." Matthew chapter 12, verse 46 through chapter 13, verse 23. While he, Jesus, was still talking to the crowd, his mother and brothers showed up. They were outside trying to get a message to him. Someone told Jesus, "Your mother and brothers are out here wanting to speak with you." Jesus didn't respond directly, but said, "Who do you think my mother and brothers are?" He then stretched out his hand toward his disciples. Look closely. These are my mother and brothers. Obedience is thicker than blood. The person who obeys my heavenly Father's will is my brother and sister and mother. At that same time, Jesus left the house and sat on the beach. In no time at all, a crowd gathered along the shoreline, forcing him to get into a boat. Using the boat as a pulpit, he addressed his congregation, telling stories. What do you make of this? A farmer planted seed. As he scattered the seed, some of it fell on the road, and birds ate it. Some fell in the gravel. It sprouted quickly, but didn't put down roots. So when the sun came up, it withered just as quickly. Some fell in the weeds as it came up. It was strangled by the weeds. Some fell on good earth and produced a harvest beyond his wildest dreams. Are you listening to this? Really listening? The disciples came up and asked, "Why do you tell stories?" He replied, "You've been given insight into God's kingdom. You know how it works. Not everybody has this gift, this insight. It hasn't been given to them. Whenever someone has a real heart for this, the insights and understandings flow freely. But if there's no readiness, any trace receptivity soon disappears. That's why I tell stories, to create readiness, to nudge the people toward a welcoming awakening. In their present state, they can stare till doomsday and not see it, listen till they're blue in the face and not get it. I don't want Isaiah's forecast repeated all over again. Your ears are open, but you don't hear a thing. Your eyes are awake, but you don't see a thing. The people are stupid. They stick their fingers in their ears so that they won't have to listen. They screw their eyes shut so they won't have to look, so they won't have to deal with me face to face. And let me heal them. But you have God-blessed eyes, eyes that see, and God-blessed ears, ears that hear. A lot of people, prophets, and humble believers among you would have given anything to see what you are seeing, to hear what you are hearing, but never had the chance. Study the story of the farmer planting seed. When anyone hears news of the kingdom and doesn't take it in, it just remains on the surface. And so the evil one comes along and plucks it right out of that person's heart. This is the seed the farmer scattered on the road. The seed cast in the gravel. This is the person who hears and instantly responds with enthusiasm, but there is no soil of character. And so, when the emotions wear off and some difficulty arrives, there is nothing to show for it. The seed cast in the weeds is the person who hears the kingdom news, but weeds of worry and illusions about getting more and wanting everything under the sun strangle what was heard, and nothing comes of it. The seed cast on good earth is the person who hears and takes in the news, and then produces a harvest beyond his wildest dreams. Psalm chapter 17, verse 1 through verse 15, a David psalm. Listen while I build my case, God, the most honest prayer you'll ever hear. Show the world I'm innocent. In your heart, you know I am. Go ahead, examine me from inside out. Surprise me in the middle of the night, and you'll find I'm just what I say I am. My words don't run loose. I'm not trying to get my own way in the world's way. I'm trying to get your way, your word's way. I'm staying on your trail. I'm putting one foot in front of the other. I'm not giving up. I call to you, God, because I'm sure of an answer. So answer. Bend your ear. Listen sharp. Paint grace graffiti on the fences. Take in your frightened children who are running from the neighborhood bullies straight to you. Keep your eye on me. Hide me under your cool wing feathers. From the wicked who are out to get me, from mortal enemies closing in. Their hearts as hard as nails, their mouths blast hot air. They are after me, nipping my heels, determined to bring me down. Lions ready to rip me apart, young lions poised to pounce. Up, God. Beard them, break them. By your sword, free me from their clutches. Bare-handed, God, break these mortals, these flat earth people who can't think beyond today. I'd like to see their bellies swollen with famine food, the weeds they've sown harvested and baked into famine bread, with second helpings for their children and crust for their babies to chew on. And me, I plan on looking you full in the face. When I get up, I'll see your full statue and live heaven on earth. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 33 through verse 35. God's curse blights the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the righteous. He gives proud skeptics a cold shoulder, but if you're down on your luck, he's right there to help. Wise living gets rewarded with honor. Stupid living gets the booby prize. This was a daily reading of the Message version of the Bible, read to you by Bible in a Year.